Good evening, Lake Orion. First day of football season is here. Those first 2 days. Rainy day. But I hear the sun will be shining bright. It already is shining bright on between Taorminas. Yes, indeed. Welcome to Between Taorminas here on ONTV. I'm here with Sammy again. No Ian again.
Gee, something's gonna happen. Something will be done. Don't worry, fans. Don't worry, fans. Something will be done.
He's missing a great week. I mean, the Tigers have been doing well. The
Football
Indians
kicks off.
Football kicks off today. The other sports kick off on Thursday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. It's gonna be a fun week.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Got volleyball, football. Of course, you can check my previews at the Dragon's Den. All right, now let's go on.
We'll discuss that later. But first, we want to talk about the Tigers. Great week for the Tigers. They swept the Indians in Cleveland and had a competitive series with the New York Yankees. Now they are playing Chicago. Right now, the Tigers are up 7 games on both the Royals and the Indians.
7.5 on Kansas City, though.
Well, still 7 games, 7.5, nonetheless. They've established some breathing room in the AL Central. What do you think?
Well, if you look at the Tigers, I mean, some of their weaknesses were exposed. I mean, a little bit because of the bullpen. Albuquerque didn't have a good start, didn't have a good one, and then Jose Vargas gave up a home run to Brent Gardner yesterday. But this
2 games, 2 of them were to Brent Gardner home runs, walk-off home runs.
Yeah, I mean, Brent Gardner is the next Tiger killer, unfortunately.
Geez. I disagree
But
on that.
let's go to the Cleveland series. You know, that would make Tiger fans happy. And Tigers did, Miguel Cabrera hitting a home run off Chris Perez late. And also, let's not forget August 5th. August 5th is a very, very horrible memory for Chris Perez.
Yep.
Especially because he gave up that home run to Miguel Cabrera, and then he gave up another one to Alex Avila. That gave the Tigers the lead. Only two different things was this was in Cleveland. And then the second game, Verlander was just dominant. Then game 3, it was like Sanchez, and then it was a 14-inning game where the Tigers had survived base with Prince, and also Scherzer dominated.
Talk about a great series for the Tigers, but you look at it as well. I mean, especially the first game, it was very close. It was like a statement game. You saw the Tigers celebrating like it was a playoff atmosphere. Do you think that it was a playoff atmosphere, or do you think that
absolutely it was a playoff atmosphere, because you got to look at, right now, Cleveland came in with 3 games back.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big series. Cleveland had all this beat Detroit things, you see them chant, beat Detroit, and then the fans chanted Detroit's bankrupt, which is
terrible.
Which is one of the facts, but you got to look at it with Detroit. I mean, they find ways to get in. They find ways. They blow closers' ERAs. They blew Mariano Rivera blew 2 saves against the Tigers. You got to look at what the Tigers have done, especially with a playoff atmosphere. Absolutely, it just showed how good that this team can be. But you know what the series I'm looking forward to? Kansas City, because
5-game series.
That's a 5-game series, including a doubleheader on Friday,
Mm-hmm.
which will be very interesting, to say the least. And I think the Tigers are sending, all 5 of their pitchers in that series.
You think that the Tigers are sending a message, possibly to the AL Central, that this race is over?
This is not over yet. I'm still
You don't
worried.
think so?
No, it's not.
I think it is.
No, it's not, because you got to look at what Kansas City. I mean, Kansas City's starting to make a charge. The Tigers keep winning, they're going to keep Kansas City at bay. I think if the Tigers start losing, then Kansas City's going to start catching up. I think Kansas City is a bigger threat than Cleveland to the Tigers, because Cleveland's
Even Craig Monroe has said that.
Cleveland's got a very good. Kansas City's got a very good bullpen. They got Holland in the 9th. They got some couple good relievers, but the key is if Mike Moustakas can hit, and he's starting to get hot
Kansas
along with
City's
Billy Butler.
offense is an issue because of how,
And
Kansas
Perez is
City
starting to get better.
doesn't necessarily score runs either. So I really think that, and also the series being in Detroit, which I feel will help because Kansas City, not the greatest of road teams.
Well, Kansas City's got to play Miami first, the Miami Marlins. And they could clash with Jose Fernandez, who has had a really good year this year in the National League. I mean, if you look at what Kansas City has, you got Moustakas, you got Butler, you got Gordon, you got Eric Hosmer, they all can do well. You know what I mean? Like, they're a young team. They got to give big props to I think is it Ned Yost or is it Bob Melvin? I'm thinking it's one of those two. Over in Kansas City, that's done a very magnificent job. And then you got the starting pitchers for Kansas City. You got James Shields, who's done well. He's big game James. And you got Wade Davis, who's not very good, but Urban Santana, I think, is a big. I think the pitching for Kansas City is going to give the Tigers some problems.
With going back, time tracking to the New York series, do you think, despite the Tigers losing the series, the Tigers came back twice on New York? They didn't exactly play great against the Yankees, but they came back in those
They were left
late
for
innings.
dead in those two losses. They were left for dead. Sunday was absolutely, until the ninth inning when Cabrera went deep off Mariano, and then Victor Martinez tied it up.
That was
the
twice
Tigers.
Cabrera hit home run off Mariano.
Yeah, the Tigers were left for dead, and Miguel Cabrera had to bail them out. If you look at it here, and Prince Fielder's really struggling because you look at it here, they're figuring out Prince Fielder. I mean, like, he's struggling, and until they, I mean, like, why doesn't everybody in the league start to get noticed about this? Walk the guy. Walk Miguel Cabrera. I mean, you got Prince Fielder struggling.
But what if Prince gets going?
If Prince gets going, then they're screwed. Prince gets going, they're screwed.
What about New York with A-Rod appealing his suspension? Obviously, he got a home run off Verlander on Sunday. It was just. What did you feel?
Pathetic, because this is the guy who was in the middle of this all. And then you see a report that he was seeing someone for legal substances? Come on, man. What is the union thinking here with this guy? Alex Rodriguez has always been a cheat. He continues to be a cheat, and he'll always be a cheat. I mean, like, his whole career was ruined when he was in Texas, and then New York. Well, I don't know why New York decided to take on this guy I know Tom Hicks really screwed up when he was in Texas with this guy, and now with New York, $275 million, and you got at least 4 more years of this guy. Oh my God. Well, it was pathetic to see.
Obviously, we did talk about the Kansas City. What about the Kansas City series a little bit? The 5-game series. It's going to be a fun series. Obviously, you got to get to 3 games in Chicago. That's always a rivalry there in Chicago.
Chris Sale's going to be tough if he's pitching that series. I think he is.
And then the 5 games Kansas City should be tough. It should be a fun week for Tigers baseball and Tiger fans.
Should be interesting, Depends if the weather keeps up. I think it'll be cool out.
It'll definitely be cool out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of cool, we're going to be right back with Between Taorminas discussing a little Lake Orion football here on Between Taorminas on ONTV. We are back with Between Taorminas here on ONTV. Football's in the air today. Football 2 days. Everybody's starting back up for high school football. It's getting back there. You know what that means? Lake Orion football back. Also, we had the football preview show. Good show. Recommend people watch it.
Be on soon, fans. It'll be on ONTV soon.
Now, speaking of football, we got to talk about Lake Orion. Kind of like Lake Orion briefly. You'll get more on the preview show. You addressed some concerns that you felt with this team, the quarterback, but I mean, it got to the point where you released your Dragons Den poll. You have the Dragons number 3, the third best team in the top 10, behind Southfield and Clarkston. Obviously, a lot of people aren't very happy with you about that, but please give your reasons why.
Well, because you look at the Dragons have a lot of questions this year. You got quarterback concerns. You don't know where they're going to go, and then you got wide receiver concerns as well. Who's going to be that top go-to guy. When Lake Orion lost Chaz Miller last year, he was a go-to receiver. But also, you got to look at the quarterback, because it's either going to be Kyle Bell or it's going to be Connor Grant that's going to be playing. And basically,
is it more?
I look at what Herm Edwards always said: if you have 2 quarterbacks, then you really don't have a quarterback. Because you look at what Michigan State had with Kirk Cousins and Keaton Nickel, it's very similar to that situation.
Is it more of the unknown? To be honest with you, I don't agree with what Herm Edwards said. I'm very, very skeptical about what he says. Is it more of the unknown? Is that why you've got them ranked the way you do?
Well, look at the unknown, because if you look at the 2 teams that ranked ahead of Orion, and that's Southfield and Clarkston, of course, a lot of people rank Clarkston very high because of their talent, their 4 talent pool, But then again, I decided, look at 2003, 2004. Remember that team?
Yeah, Lake Orion team.
Lake Orion team. When Clarkston had Clarkston's in that same boat, but their quarterback's a huge issue there, especially with Zazula. A lot of people are saying he's going to have a big year, but I'm not skeptical on that. But you got to look at
You're not convinced.
I'm not convinced on that. I mean, it was very tough, to rank these teams, especially based on the talent level. I mean, I just think that going with Clarkston is right now the safe pick. A lot of people are going to say Clarkston's going to kill everybody. Clarkston's going to steamroll everybody. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think if you look at it too, Lake Orion, ever since 2010, is 0-3 in Week 8.
I know.
Since 2010, and and they play Clarkston Week 8. So if you think about it.
Lake Orion hasn't beaten Clarkston
if you look at what happened in 2000, if you look at 2007, Lake Orion lost to Clarkston in the regular season, and then got them in the playoffs. I have a feeling that might happen this year. I think they're going to be paired up. They're going to meet in the regional final, and I think Orion wins the regional final.
So you're saying if they match up in the playoffs, the one team
Orion.
Clarkston doesn't want to see is Lake Orion.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So that's pretty reasonable. It's pretty understandable. Obviously, addressing your concerns a little bit, obviously, with the quarterback, we'll have them watch the preview show. Going into this year, what is your expectations for Dragons football?
I look at Lake Orion this year. They got some questions, of course, quarterback, receiver. Defensively, of course, you're replacing a linebacker with the type of Derek Williams caliber, losing him to Eastern Michigan, and Nick Booker. I want to see how this defense would match up, especially who would be the playmakers on that side of the ball. Because it looks like this team will have the talent, but they got some defensive concerns, especially at the DB, especially at that area. I know their Week 1 opponent, Oxford, features a very good power running game. Of course, you got in Ben Line, and then you got Glacier Wallington, the quarterback, who can he'll use his legs, he'll use his arm, he throw a lot of bootleg, But if you look at it, Lake Orion fans, there's a lot of optimism. I know the schedule.
There is, especially with what happened last year. They went to the state semifinals.
I know the schedule this year is brutal They got to go to
The road plate.
The road plate. They got to go to Oxford. They got to go to Stony Creek, and you got Troy at Ford Field. Then you got to go to Clarkson. You know,
Then a crossover at home.
the crossovers at home. You know, and that could be either Southfield or Harrison.
Or Oak Park or Farmington.
Oak Park or Farmington.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, you know, I think if you look at it here, I mean, like, I think Orion right now is I think they're in a better place. I think the reason why I had the finishing number 2 is
Or number 3.
or number 3
Overall.
is because I just think there's a lot of unknowns on this team right now, a lot of uncertainty.
You think that once those uncertainties become addressed, would you feel
Running
a lot
game
more?
really good.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, but obviously, Lake Orion versus Oxford, week 1. Obviously, we'll preview that. I would say in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously that game will say a lot about this crew.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that?
Well, Oxford hasn't lost a home game since 2011.
Correct.
So that'll be a really interesting game right there. And also, we don't know what this identity of this team is. You know, we don't know the quarterback. We don't know who the receivers are. You know, the running back's talented. You know, running back group's very talented. You know, you don't know what
You don't know who's gonna start.
You don't know how their line's going to be. You know,
Mhm.
there's a lot of unknowns with this team. That's why I have Orion right now number 3, unlike being number 2. You know, because there's a lot of unknowns. Whereas when you go to when I put Clarkson on there, they're known for their power running game. I mean, like, they're pretty basic. They're pretty vanilla. You know, that's what it is with Clarkson. And then you got Southfield, who's really loaded this year, really talented, really sick. You know, they got a good defensive line, good quarterback, good receivers, good running back. You know, Southfield's loaded this year.
Well, obviously, going forward, we've got when I walked by today at work and I saw the Dragons football players, all optimism, all confidence, all positive. I feel very good about this team. I really do. I feel that this team is going. And the beautiful thing is, and I know we talked about this briefly on the previous show, under the radar. The big namers are not looking at them as much.
No.
I mean, that is the beautiful thing, that this team is under the radar.
Well, that's the good thing that they're under the radar, because nobody's going to be talking about them.
They're still going to be playing like Orion football.
They're still going to be playing like Orion football, but also, you know, this is a team that, if they're dangerous when they're under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
When people know about this team, there's some trouble. You know.
And that's kind of been the beautiful thing, is when they've been under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
But
2010 was not really that true here.
But okay, going forward, you've got They're going forward. They've got the 2-a-days.
Mm-hmm.
Then they got green and white night.
They put pads
on Thursday.
Yep.
So that's going to be
we'll
very,
know a
very
lot
exciting.
about that team.
Mm-hmm.
We'll know a lot about them.
Mm-hmm. But what would you take from the previous show when talking to Coach Bell about the Dragons? What do you take?
He's got a lot of optimism. You know what I mean? Like the theme this year, I question a little bit.
We are. I like we are.
It reminds me a lot of Penn State.
Well, I think the we are thing is if you look at Coach Bell brought it up, we are basically, what is this team going to be? What is the identity going to be?
We'll see.
That's the question. I'm excited. I want to see how Dragons football is going to be this year. I really am.
We'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. We will be right back with Between Taorminas here on ONTV.
Hey, this is Mickey York from Fox Sports Detroit. When I want to get the inside scoop on local sports, I watch Between Taorminas or Fox Sports Detroit.
We want a Habitat home.
I love working on my Habitat home.
Soy dueño de una casa de Habitat.
My neighbor is a Habitat homeowner.
Being a Habitat homeowner has changed our lives.
My mortgage payment for Habitat is less than what I paid for rent.
Habitat for Humanity of Oakland County currently has homes available with mortgage payments lower than most rent payments. If you or someone you know needs decent and affordable housing, call 248-338-1843 or visit our website at habitatoakland.org.
We are back with Between Taorminas here on ONTV. Now, there's been a report that's been out for weeks now, but we haven't quite addressed it on BT. the Detroit Pistons acquired Brendan Jennings. Good move or bad?
Bad move.
Why?
Because you got to look at here with Brandon Knight, because he's an individual player. You know, I mean, like, he's always been that way. He's always been a selfish player since he left to go to Italy and play instead of go to college. And then he was drafted by Milwaukee. And then, you know, it's an interesting move.
But he's a
ball hog. You know, he's a ball hog. You know what I mean? Like, what's going to happen with this team? I don't know if this team's a playoff team.
There's a lot of optimism about this Brendan Jennings move. I think that, you know, look at the talent there.
They could trade him for Rashawn Rondo.
But the talent is all there, and certainly that and a lot of people are saying that the Pistons are going to be a playoff team this year.
I don't think they. I think you got an outside shot at maybe 7 or 8 seed, but I don't think they will compete with Indiana and Chicago. There's too much parity in the Central Division this year. You got Indiana, Chicago. Detroit may be 3rd in that division, but you got to watch for Cleveland.
What about Milwaukee?
And then Milwaukee. You know, I think Milwaukee got a little bit younger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it is what it is.
But what about, do you think that Jennings could benefit playing off a guy like Chauncey Billups?
He could.
Who's been a veteran, who's been a championship caliber point guard, who's been there through it all.
He could, but, you know, I'm curious to see how the starting lineup's going to be. I mean, I've been bashing Tom Gores, you know, but this is if this experiment fails, Joe Dumars is gone.
Well, obviously, Joe Dumars has been in the hot seat. The fans want to see the Pistons back in the playoffs. We've seen the
They want to win a championship.
We want to see that. We've seen the Palace go as far as the people in the stands. Hardly anybody there.
No.
I mean, it's been
well,
largely
I blame
disappointing.
Karen Davison for that mess.
It's been largely disappointing. I would say that the product has not been exactly the best.
Nope.
And hopefully the Pistons can get back together. I know winning does cure a lot of things. It'll encourage fans to
I
come
don't
to
know
games.
if this team will do well. You know, I don't know if they have. We'll see what happens with this team.
Hopefully the Pistons can get it together.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Well, this week I'm not going to have any call-outs. So, Sammy, hit it.
Well, my first call-out is, you know, there's an object here that's missing in my life, and I've been crying about it. It is the Double O Trophy. Double O Trophy. Why?
What a
I miss you! Why? Why don't you come to the show? Why? I miss you! It would have been a great thing to have, to be here. I miss that thing.
Okay. Okay, I will address this right now. You need to talk to either Coach Bell or Mr. Reeves, the athletic director, and ask them to have the Double O Trophy back. It's right now in the high school. Put on display in the football trophy case.
I wish I could. If Orion wins this year against Oxford,
That'd
I
be
want
great.
it back here so bad. I'll be so happy.
Well, there's a pretty good chance that like Orion beats Oxford, the trophy will be back here just like it was last year.
That was the best moment of my life.
How was that one of the best moments of your life?
Because it was the best brother I ever had.
Wow, that's cold.
And then my next call out, of course, this guy, of course, we didn't get much of football, but we talked
NFL.
Lions, you know, NFL. This guy has a huge issue with, this guy's made some stupid mistakes in his era. He's from USC. His name is Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez, why? You're known as the man for infamy. When you decide to go into quarterback, you go, and then you get hit by somebody's butt, and then you fall with the ball, and then when he takes it back and scores a touchdown? Wow, that's stupid.
Wow, Pat Ronan would love that touchdown.
Stupid. Pat Ronan would be crying in happiness right now.
He was when they scored.
And then last week, the interception. First series of the game. You try to throw a screen pass, and you throw an interception for a pick six. Why? You don't even deserve the job. Geno Smith's going to be a starter week 1, and you're going to be a has-been. Who are you? You're a has-been.
That was a great know that Sanchez did that pick six because it was the Lions, and the Lions scored the touchdown, defensive touchdown. It's one of those great feelings to have.
If you're Mark Sanchez, you're going to be benched week 1 when the Jets, I don't know who they got week 1, but I'll figure that out. And then my last call out, of course, is somebody who has not been here for 3 weeks. I'm very disappointed with this guy. His name is Ian Weatherspoon. Ian Weatherspoon, why? You're supposed to be our host of our show, and yet, where are you? You're not even here. Why? Why? What's wrong with you? Have you ever been the same person since the Undetroitable? It must be a real sad thing then. I can't believe you. You lost fair and square for that trophy, and you deserve it. 2 years running. I know a couple other people would have loved to beat you. I know that. I'll think about it. We'll see what happens.
You know, Ian is responsible for why Pat's not here these days, right?
Yep.
You know, it's just, I don't know what's going on with him. I know that Ian was on vacation, then he hurt his knee.
Yep.
Get better soon, Ian. It's just that, I don't know, the way that it's looking like, we're hosting the show pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Handling it well.
Yeah.
Hopefully he'll be back next week.
We'll see.
I mean, it would, we got it. Speaking of that, we got a series of guests coming up that we might bring up.
Yes.
You know, and we're looking forward to having up on the show in a few weeks.
Yes.
It's gonna be very exciting, including a good friend of yours who wants to have a nice, good talk with you.
Who is that?
You know Troy Asson's athletic director, Bob Dowd.
No!
Yeah, he wants that.
No! Not him! No!
You know the Lake Orion athletic director, Bill Reese, wants on.
No!
You know the Lake Orion Principal Holly wants on.
No!
And also Coach Tooley and Coach Jennings. They would love a word with you.
My world's going to an end!
And you know that Coach Sharon, Coach Etherton would love to come on if they were given the chance again.
What has this world gotten ourselves into?
I can tell from your face appearance you are very happy.
No!
You are extremely happy. No! You are extremely proud.
No!
Well, any last words for this week?
Well, Michigan State football starting to roll soon.
Mm-hmm.
Be a good year for Michigan State. I think they'll win at least 11 games this year.
That'd be nice if Michigan State was to win 11 games.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Michigan football's also there coming up too. Well, you don't really much care.
I don't care.
Okay. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Between Taorminas. Have a great night. God bless you, Lake Orion, and good night.